everyone. I am Jessica Koch. I'm your host, and this is Profound Professionals. This is an interview series we have been running for almost 8 years now. We feature industry experts from all over the world, and they help improve your personal life or help you grow your business. So today, our guest is Gayle. She is a psychotherapist who specializes in working with individuals with anxiety and or with relationship challenges. So if you're struggling with anxiety in your personal life, or you have some challenges in the relationships that are in your world surrounding you, then this is going to be a great interview for you to watch and get to meet and get to know Gayle a little bit. Welcome, Gayle, today.
Thank you so much, Jessica. I am so thrilled to be here.
This is going to be fun. So tell us how you decided you're going to go down this path and really specialize in anxiety and relationships and supporting people as they overcome those challenges.
Yeah. So going into this career, I always really loved helping people, but in the sense of talking with them. I'm naturally a very curious individual. And like all human beings, I've had my own challenges. And
Mm.
I found ways of my own to cope with those challenges. In furthering my education, I now have evidence based methods of helping other people. And I love hearing people's stories, their backgrounds, what they're struggling with. And I love to be able to brainstorm with individuals on how to overcome that.
So, is this the career path you've always taken from the start, or did you have something you did before this that
Yeah,
led to
that's such a
all
good
of this?
question. So I actually started my career as a nursing major in school.
Ah,
And I realized that, I was going to do psych nursing actually. So I
mm,
always loved the psychological element of helping
mhm.
people, but I wasn't so medically savvy. What
Yes.
I found is that I really enjoy talking with people and implementing other ways of help aside from the hands-on, if that
Mhm.
makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, no, the medical stuff is a lot. It's not for everyone. I know that that is definitely true of me. Even having 7 kids and 7 grandkids, I still am, nurturing to an extent. But when they need care beyond that, I bring in other community members in our family to support because it just isn't my gift.
It takes a village, doesn't it?
It does, and it's not everyone's, talent for sure, so I totally appreciate that piece of it, and I feel like I'm a natural talker, so I don't know that that makes the best psychotherapist because you have to be the best listeners for that,
Well,
but
yeah, I mean, there's different approaches, Jessica. I would say that, there is the approach where you just listen and you smile and nod, but I like to take a little bit more of a collaborative approach when working with
Mhm,
people. For sure. Being able to listen and give people the space to vent and gain the support that they're sometimes lacking is
mhm,
essential. But at the
mhm.
same time, I do want to be a little bit more collaborative and, brainstorm and provide my own observations and feedback.
I think that's important because I think there's sort of a running joke of, paying so much money to have someone nod, smile, and say, "And how does that make you feel?"
Those cliche therapy lines, right? I know. It's cringeworthy.
And what do you think the solution is?
Yeah.
So it's funny though, because it is really a journey to ourselves. And then sometimes it does take someone else out from the outside to help us guide us. To there. Now, I will make our disclaimer. I say all the time, I'm the Italian mother of 7 kids, 7 grandkids, but I'm not your mama. We're not giving you medical, legal, financial advice. We are sharing Gayle's story, her experiences, and a little bit about her as a person. If you are in need of true medical services or advice, please seek a professional that's near you. That is our disclaimer for today's show. But as we go, Gayle, when people seek you out, where are they in life really? What's happening with them? What is the
Yeah.
the the most common kind of person that comes seeking your support? Kind of describe them in their scenario so that someone might say, "Oh, wait, I know someone like that who might need Gail," or, "Oh, wait, that's me. I need some of that support now." So, what does that customer look like? What are they going through?
Yeah, 100%. So I primarily work, as I stated, with anxiety and relationship challenges. So relationship, that is a very broad word.
Yes,
So
it is.
it doesn't just encompass romantic relationships. It could include parenting, the relationships people have with their children, the
Mhm,
relationships people have with their family members, their
mhm,
friends, their coworkers, their boss.
mhm,
Relationship is a broad category. So
mhm,
when somebody is approaching me, they are usually struggling with some kind of anxiety, whether that be social anxiety or OCD or just complete like overwhelm with their parenting. I work a lot with mothers of toddlers specifically,
mm,
um, because I have extra training in something called Child-Parent Psychotherapy, which I enjoy
mhm,
greatly. Um, I also specialize in adoption competency. So I
mhm,
might see individuals in what they call the adoption triad. So either a birth parent, an adoptee, or an adoptive parent.
mhm.
And that could present with any number of challenges. And there is usually some kind of anxiety involved where people are looking for coping tools. They're looking for support from somebody who specializes in these areas and can provide evidence based feedback.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I would say to answer your question a little more succinctly, where people are when they're meeting with me is, they're experiencing some kind of anxiety in a relationship struggle and they're looking for help
Yeah,
from
so
an
if you
objective person.
yeah, so if you're in a space with your spouse or really trying to deal with boundaries with family members, especially it's easier sometimes with friends because if it's an unhealthy relationship, you're able to walk away. But when it's a romantic relationship and or a family member, it's difficult to, completely sever yourself from a family member. You have to what I've found is I've had to try to find healthy boundaries, healthy situations to interact with that person in a limited settings with structured rules that protect myself so that I can still have this person in my life to an extent that still stays healthy for me.
Yeah,
So that's something that I think needs a lot of brainstorming and collaboration from someone like you to get established in a lot of cases. So,
it could be very challenging because on the one hand, this could be somebody who you're struggling with, who you really love, and
mhm,
you don't necessarily know the best way to handle it where your own needs are taken into consideration, but you're not hurting the other person. It's a very fine balance.
it is. It is
Mhm.
really. And I guess I've been blessed to be able to identify and remove myself despite what might come. I have a lot of I guess I'm one of those people who can step off of a cloud with in faith, right? That someone is going to hold me because I've been in a couple of work scenarios and situations in my past where I wasn't the owner of my firm and the management or the expectations of me were in my for my moral code unethical or immoral or just not working for what I believe in. And I had this, I was lucky to have the strength to walk away,
Yes.
despite the fact that I was the sole income at the time, even,
Yeah.
just having faith that, when you make space for healthy things in your life, they'll show up, right? And if you're immersed in something that isn't good for you, again, I'm not giving you employment advice to go walk away from something. I'm sharing my personal story and what worked for me, but was able to a solution, appeared. I know that sounds a little magical, but it's kind of how I've allowed my life to run, and it's worked for me. But getting guidance and support through a scenario like that from someone like you, I think is truly valuable.
Yeah, because that kind of situation, it takes a lot of courage.
Mhm. Mhm.
And it also takes a lot of brainstorming in the sense that I'm sure, Jessica, you had to figure out how you were going to go about that,
Yes,
as being
yes.
you mentioned, you were the sole income provider in your family,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So, yeah, that took a lot of, that took a lot of courage, and
Mhm.
how you were going to go about it,
Well,
I'm sure
and
there's
I'm
a lot of
lucky
thinking.
I have an amazing, husband of 25 years, and whenever we have a large decision to make, we often take a long walk by the water. We talk about all the pieces. We come up with, at least the first action step plans, even if we don't know what will happen after that, and then go from there. And that's exactly what we've done with all of our major decisions. And we're also very spiritual, so we pray about things
Mhm.
and try to have peace and some guidance and things. So, so yeah, definitely we've all had to face some big decisions, and often we have to face them not knowing what's going to come out on the other side.
Sure.
So, and I think it's great to get help with that because, if you're not seeing someone to brainstorm and work through these challenges like Gail, you may end up having to see a true medical professional because stress from anxiety and things can lead to so many medical problems. So, having those experts in your life to help reduce that stress and try to stay as healthy as you can be, checking in with both, a true medical provider for health reasons, as well as someone that helps keep your mind healthy. That collaboration is a great cycle of health for mind and body. I think Uh,
Yes, absolutely. I love that. I love what you mentioned just now about the medical piece.
mhm.
If you don't mind, I'm just gonna tie in something that
Of
often comes
course.
up in my practice.
Mhm.
Speaking of that medical piece, there's a lot of stigma, I think, still regarding
Yes.
psychiatric medication,
Yeah.
and I understand that, people are worried that if they go to therapy or if they take medication, that there's something wrong with them, you know?
Yeah.
But if you take medication for a headache or an
Mhm.
antibiotic because of an infection,
Mhm.
why not for something like anxiety or depression?
Mhm.
You know?
Well, I think it's about having that team of experts to really help you decide what's very, very
Absolutely.
best for you. Because I'm also a big believer of holistic ways of health. I mean, there's just so many side effects from all of these different things, and so much we still don't learn about so many of the new things that come out on the market and all that. So again, we're not giving you medical advice. I'm going to keep saying that, but I think having a team of experts, and getting second opinions and third opinions, all of these things are to protect yourself. And I think that there are even such thing, and I hear more and more that it's so needed of even medical advocates, like, so that in case you don't know what you don't know, then when you are working with your team of experts, you know the right things to ask to protect yourself because sometimes you don't always know. So, and I do truly love a holistic approach whenever it's possible, but it's not always possible. We're lucky that we live in a modern world where there are medications and surgeries and things that can help people when nothing else possibly could, right? So I think it's again finding balance with the two.
Oh,
For
absolutely. And what works for one person is not necessarily going to
no.
work for someone else. And I am not a prescriber, first of all. I just want to put that disclaimer out there. I'm not a prescriber, but
Yeah.
it's good to know what our options are.
Right. Yeah, having all the options and all as much information behind all of them is so helpful. And I also want to, before we move on into your customer journey experience, I love that you mentioned OCD because, well, maybe because I have a few of those. I mean, I don't know. I feel like everybody has. I don't know if they're OCD. I just see them as kind of that's my process. Like I have processes and systems for doing everything. I mean, even from the littlest thing, from we have a freezer that the ice machine doesn't work right now. So we have ice trays like in the old school days, right? So whenever I use the ice, I have a process of, I put the rest in the container, I fill it up, and when I shut the freezer, I make sure the seal is tight. I push it that extra push because that makes my brain feel happy, and then like when I'm working from home alone, I check the front door, I check the back door, I check the basement door, I make sure I have my hot tea, I make sure I have my ice cold water. Like I like I think we all have like systems and daily processes. And I think maybe it just crosses over into the world of maybe anxiety or stress or OCD when it begins to stand in the way of us functioning in life,
Mhm.
or makes it so that we can't then take a next step without doing something. I don't know because I'm not a psychotherapist.
Yeah. Uh,
But
Jessica, I think you're exactly right. It's whether it's working for you or not. Meaning, like, what's the anxiety level attached to it? I have a lot of people that they don't mind being like that, but they judge themselves because they see other
right,
people, or they've been told by other people, why do you need to do that? But
yeah,
if it's not bothering them and it's just their routine,
yeah.
what's wrong with it? So some of this is also normalizing, depending again on the level of anxiety attached to those routines.
And I don't think I have anxiety attached to them. I have a sense of, "Ah, okay, that's done," when I
Mhm.
do it. And I think the door checking thing when I work home from home alone, I actually remember when that started. I'm getting a session live, people, for just so you know, this is how live works. Um, I had a girlfriend who also worked from home alone years and years and years ago, and before it was a thing that everybody did, right? And she had someone break in to her home while she was there by herself,
Oh,
and I don't worry too much about that. Like, I'm not stressed, I'm not afraid. Well, I actually did also have a delivery guy try to attack me, but our dog, sent him
oh,
away, and our dog protected us. And, but still, I open the door for the delivery guy, I take a package. I'm not, concerned, but I'm cautious and careful, right? And so when I lock the doors and check that I'm secure when I know I am all alone, it just makes me feel a little bit better, but I'm not, I guess, panicked about it if it weren't, if the door weren't to be locked, or if I were to
yeah,
forget to do it or whatever. So I think it's again that I think everything is about balance, is finding that
yeah,
sense of balance. And I think there's nothing wrong with being proactive and safe. It's just again when it gets to the point where it paralyzes you from taking that next step or holds you from living and enjoying your life. I also have I'm going to share all kinds of stuff today. A fear of stairs and escalators and things. When I was a small child, my grandmother's house had very steep wooden stairs, and I was about 5 years old. And I got to the top, and the bottom of the stairs and landed against the wall. And I got to the top of the stairs, and I was not well. And there was only one bathroom in the house back then. Those houses were,
mm,
one bathroom upstairs,
yeah,
and I was sick, like physically sick, before I could get to the bathroom at the top of the stairs. And I slid in it and rolled all the way down the stairs and smashed into the wall at the bottom.
oh my gosh.
So, so but what I've done is like one of our vacations for our family, I planned the tallest lighthouse in the country. We went to New Jersey and we went to the top of the tallest lighthouse in the United States. And my husband, on the way up, he stood behind me and I went up all the stairs, a spiral staircase, like someone who's afraid of stairs, faces this. And then on the way down, he stood in front of me and I just went down. And then, so I just always I make a plan to make it work and to still ride escalators and still take the stairs and still go to very high heights, went to the top of the Empire
Amazing.
State Building and, just do it. I think that's the definition of courage and being brave, right?
Yeah,
Is facing those things and feeling a win and a triumph in a safe, healthy way, right? Where I wasn't
mhm,
upset. Uh, but it did take courage for me to
Yeah.
climb up the stairs. And then I remember in DC, there was one night that I was headed home, and I had gone to a networking event, and I was all alone. And the only way, because the elevator was out of order, and the only way to get to the subway was the steepest escalator I'd ever seen in my life.
Oh,
And do you know, I waited. I did a lot of praying, and I probably was sweating. And so whenever we watch the movie Elf with the escalator and he's having a hard time, my family laughs hysterically because this is me every time I face an escalator. But I waited, and I asked a stranger he if that person would. I explained I had a little bit of a challenge going down this escalator, but I needed to get to the subway.
mm,
Asked if he would stand in front of me so that I could go down, and he did. So sometimes it's about reaching out to the world around us and our
yeah.
community, whether it's working with someone like you or even just asking for help when you're in a situation that's hard, because that was hard for me,
And
you know.
it took a lot of insight, Jessica. I'm sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to say, for you to be able to know what would help you in that situation took a lot
Yeah.
of insight.
Yeah, so I've tried to always teach my children too, is when we do face challenges, to have a coping mechanism, a coping
Mhm.
plan. What will help those challenges feel less challenging, will make it easier, will give you that bit of support to make it through to whatever you have to do next to get across those little bridges, I guess we should say, right? So
Well,
yeah.
that certainly did take a lot of courage, and I'm sorry that you went through that experience where
I mean, it
you
really
got
wasn't
severely
like a
injured.
trauma. I mean, it's not like a true trauma, like some people go through, like, really major trauma. I fell down the stairs as a 5-year-old, but the memory was such, and it was so painful, and so because of also not being well and just all the factors
Mhm.
amplified it for me that, 51 years old, and I still look at stairs and go, is there another way to get there?
Now, I do have a question about that. Now, since you've seen yourself go on that escalator and be
Uh-huh.
able to go up the stairs and be safe afterwards, is it still that same level of intensity with the anxiety?
No, I don't think it is. I think it
Yeah.
just occurred, like, it's still a thought, when
It's
I
in the
fit
back
like
of your mind. Got it.
yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Well, and I take my time when I'm loading, when I'm, riding up isn't as hard on an escalator as going down,
Sure.
right, for me.
Mhm.
But it's, I still have to make sure I've grabbed the step when I feel comfortable. And if there's a non-mobile stairs option, I'll take the regular stairs over the moving ones because they seem a little more intimidating
Yeah,
to me, which is great exercise.
yeah. It's very
I
good exercise, that's true.
and I should totally be more afraid of the mechanism in an elevator and how all that crazy stuff works than a staircase. But I'll also hop in an elevator much quicker, even a glass elevator where I can see, the down,
Sure.
and none of that bothers me. I'll ride in those sky lifts. I'll do all kinds of other crazy things. So yeah, I've gone in a hot air balloon ride. I've done, all kinds of things despite despite, fear is a there I've done a talk called The Positive Side of Fear.
Mhm.
Fear can keep you in check. It can help keep you safe. It can help lift your adrenaline, but it can also help you step into your courage and your strength and your bravery, and just having a healthy relationship with fear and saying, yes, okay, I see that you're here. I know that this exists, but we're going to do this anyway. And logically I've thought it out. It's safe. If I'm, rock wall climbing or whatever I'm doing, I've got a harness. I'm good. There's professionals here. I just kind of talk myself through it. And I
Mhm.
have a conversation with this little girl inside me who is afraid, just to reassure her that, yes, it's okay to be afraid. Yes, fear is a thing, but we're going to do this anyway,
Mhm.
and that's kind of how I have processed it throughout my life. So
I love that. I love that. You don't let it stop you.
No, no, and I think
Yeah.
it's a necessary emotion in our life.
Mhm.
I think just developing a healthy relationship with it and what to do when it shows up in a
Mm.
powerful way is, for me, I think has been the key.
Yeah,
So,
I love that you've discovered that. I mean, you're right. As human beings,
yeah.
we're gonna have times when we're anxious or fearful. It's how you
Mhm.
manage it.
Yeah.
It's having those coping tools in place and having the insight to know about those coping tools and what will work for you.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure, for sure. And just don't be afraid to ask for help. I think the whole purpose is, people talk about why are we here? Why are we on this planet? What's the purpose? And I think it's you. It's you out there who's watching, who's listening, who's liking, who's sharing. It's all the people in my family, all the people that I'm going to run into in my existence on this planet and somehow touch even the ones I never get to meet because I helped someone and then someone else was impacted by that help and they helped someone. I think the point is people. The point is me and you. I think people matter most. That's why we're here as far as how I see it.
Love that.
Uh, So tell us when a person does come to you with some of these challenges that they're
Mhm.
working through and trying to find the healthy path. What ways do you work with them? Is it one-on-one, virtual in in a Zoom or some sort of virtual platform meeting, or is it group, or is it in person? Is it an online course? Is it all the things? Is it what? How
Sure.
does it?
Yeah. Right now I am meeting with individuals virtually through Zoom. Um,
Mhm.
I at some point in my life would love to be able to expand to groups. I've always had that in the back of my mind. I'd love to start an online course. I have a lot of ambitions, to be honest with you, Jessica, but right now it's just virtually one on one.
Yeah, and I think there's such a I really hope for you and for your client's sake that, at some point in the future that group comes into play because, there's that benefit from the one-on-one sessions, but then it could be married with the group because, obviously with all the right legal and privacy documents
Sure.
signed, but the value of I'm such a believer of masterminds in general from a business standpoint, right? When my mind comes together with a puzzle to solve and your mind comes together with mine for a puzzle to solve, I really do believe a third mind is formed, right? We can see things with our ideas together. My ideas inspire ideas for you that you wouldn't have had without mine, where this third almost entity and energy shows up in order to solve this puzzle. And I always love calling challenges puzzles instead of challenges or problems because puzzles are fun and solvable. And
Mhm.
people will go out and buy a puzzle. Who's going to go out and buy a problem or a challenge or
That's a very good point. Puts a positive spin on it. That's true.
Yes, I love puzzles, and so many people love puzzles. There's whole puzzle clubs, right? Mystery solving, puzzle solving, excitement, and so just looking at it from that standpoint and having a whole room focused on one puzzle to solve can be a really exciting experience of
Yeah.
what comes shakes out of that. Those whole brainstorming sessions, if you would.
Yeah,
Um,
and so people know also that they're not alone.
yeah.
What they're experiencing is pretty typical. It
Mhm,
normalizes it.
mhm,
That's why at some point I'm hoping I could start either a parenting support group or an
mhm.
anxiety group. Um, Hopefully somewhere down the line.
All you have to do is decide. You set a date in
Yeah.
the calendar, you start telling people about it. First one person shows, then 5 people shows. Then before you know it, you have 50 to 100 every single week on the date on your calendar that or every month on the date on the calendar that you choose, and, away you go. So, that's my business professional advice. It's all about a decision, just decide,
Yes.
and then away you go. So okay, well, now I would love for you to share with us a tip that everyone watching could share with them others they know, by hitting that share button, or apply for themselves so that their life could be better today than it was yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely. Jessica, I'm sorry. I'm going to piggyback off of what you said earlier regarding asking for help.
Hmm.
So I see this a lot. People are so reluctant
Hmm.
to admit their either their faults or their insecurities. There's a lot of shame involved
Hmm.
with experiencing anxiety or being embarrassed about something that they're stressed about. There's a lot of shame in that for a lot of people, and they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to seek out help. And I think that although it's valid, I understand how that could be so hard for
Hmm.
people. I ask that people please keep in mind that there's no need for that shame.
Hmm.
You can, put that shame aside and talk freely regarding what's troubling you, your struggles
Hmm.
that you want to work on, can make a world of a difference.
It can. It can. And I would say to that point that all different emotions and energies have frequencies. And shame is, I believe, I'm not an expert in all frequencies or energies, but at the bottom of the barrel. When you feel at the point of shame, you're almost as low as you can go as far as energy and frequency. And one of the things, I'm in a book club, and one of the things it's constantly talking about confidence. And one of the things I love that was the exercise was really creating um, a list of all of our, talents, skills, accomplishments, all the wonderful, almost like a cheat sheet for everything wonderful about you that you're proud of that you've ever done. So that when you're feeling that moment of puzzle and challenge, that you can refer to it and it can lift you just a little bit, but to Gail's point, when you have something in your life like that you're trying to solve, I think one of the best solutions ever is to have courage and be brave and ask for help. Get some
Yeah.
support.
It's exactly what you did, when you were gonna go down that escalator. You
Hmm.
easily could have said, "Oh, I can't tell that man that I'm scared of going on the escalator and that he, if asking him if he can go in front of me. I can't do that." But you were able to put your ego aside. You were able to face your fear and do it. And look what happened. You were able to do it.
Well, for me, it was like, well, how else am I going to get home? I mean, I
Right.
guess I could have called my husband and said, okay, I'm paralyzed and stuck on the curb here at this street intersection and this street intersection at the mouth of the subway.
So from a practical standpoint,
Come
that's,
find me.
yeah.
But it just didn't seem like an option for me. I just felt like I needed to be able to solve this puzzle, and so that's what I did, and fortunately for me, the world showed up with kindness, and I ended up with a kind and safe human that gave me that extra support. And he acted like it was not a big deal at all. He said, "Sure, that's not a problem." There was no judgment, there was no embarrassment. It was, and I got to the bottom quite quite safe and sound. So yeah, that is, it's funny. I don't think I've ever shared that story publicly. I'm not, I might have shared it with my husband, but maybe not beyond that.
Well, thank you for sharing it here. I really appreciate that because it's a very good example of some of the work that, I really like to do with folks.
I love that. I
Yeah.
love that. Okay, so since we have started this show series, since show one, we've always asked our guests to share with us a cause that's close to their heart, so that we can take a moment beyond Gail, beyond me, and focus a minute on our community and the world at large, and how it is giving and receiving of support. So now is the time, if ever, to hit that share button, because you just don't know who might need to hear about this cause, or who might be inspired to give time, treasure, or talent to a cause near them, to a cause they care about, or to the one that Gail shares with us. So, what's a cause near your heart, Gail?
Yeah. The Center of Adoption Support and Education,
Mhm.
otherwise known by its acronym CASE.
Mm,
So, this is an organization that provides trainings for therapists on adoption competency, as well
mhm.
as therapy and support groups for people who were adopted, adoptive parents, and birth parents.
I love that. And there's a lot that a child who gets adopted goes through too. That whole emotion roller coaster of finding people who want them and claim them and love them, and also wondering about the people who, for whatever reason, weren't able to be their active parents growing up in their lives. So lots goes into that. I love that. I think it's beautiful. It reminds me of a cause that we have another guest who had been in our show in the past, John Fondy, and he is just so dedicated and involved in a cause that provides college education for people in the foster care system. So maybe they're not at a point in their life where they can be adopted, or haven't been adopted, but have been roaming through their existence, as through their childhood in the system, in the foster care system, and just helping those children have, as they exit it, an advantage that so many receive, but so many don't, and have that higher education paid for, so that they can take that next step into life. So,
I love
yeah.
that.
Yeah, so great causes out there. Share the cause in the comments that you care about. And like I said, you sometimes just hearing about something wonderful can inspire you to even just be that much kinder to the person and the people around you in your life today. So moving along, I am also well known for my madness of, in the healthy way, not totally. We're all mad here. I love Alice in Wonderland. We're all mad here, but we're mad about books. We are crazy about them in the most positive of ways. The positive form of mad, as we just adore and love books. We're creating the ultimate book list of books that our guests have shared with us throughout the years that have inspired their personal life or helped them grow their business. And Gail is going to share with us a book that she loves.
Yes. So, this book is called Maybe You Should Talk to Someone
Mm.
by Lori Gottlieb. It's a memoir showing how helpful and powerful therapy could be. What's interesting is that it's both through the author's own therapy journey as well as her experience working as a therapist.
It sounds fascinating.
Mm.
That's definitely one I've never heard of. I always love there when there's one that's shared that we've never heard of. And there is rumors, it's just a bit of gossip. Maybe you can confirm or deny that you might possibly be stirring the pot of the ingredients of a bestseller brewing on your end. So tell us about those possibilities.
Thank you. Yes. So I am currently writing a book. It's going to be called Please Don't Give Up on Therapy. I'm not sure when it's going to be released. Hopefully in the coming year. But
Okay.
yeah, it's about my experience as a therapist and being told by my clients that they've been to other therapists in the past and it didn't work with them.
Mhm,
Whether it was the specific style of therapy, the technique
mhm,
used, or the therapist's personality. And luckily, they didn't give up, and
mm,
they met with me, and we clicked. But then
mm,
also, there might be some people that meet with me and we don't click. And that's normal. But the point is that they should not give up on therapy. Like
mhm.
if you go to a dentist, for example, and you don't have a positive experience, I'm hopeful that you would just go to a different dentist, right? I don't know if that's the same with
Yeah, no,
therapy.
and the other thing to think about too is it may haven't even been your therapist. It may have been where you were in your decision for in your journey for healing, because I keep talking about decide, and that's a big factor. And as we grow and as we develop in different stages of our lives, we become more ready for things. For example, I
Mhm.
have a book that I've been reading since I was a child that I can pick up and open anywhere at this moment and read something that I have read before that will have a new meaning and a new impact on my personal life today than it did 5 years ago when I read it, because I have grown and changed as a person. So sometimes it's about a combination of not giving up on yourself, working and trying to find the therapist with the right method and
Mhm.
process and even personality for you, but also remembering that you are a factor, that you need to be ready to receive and grow and change and decide that, here is where you are now, and you don't want to any longer be there. So in order to change, then then something has to change, right? So um I think that's another important thing to think about when you're
Sure.
thinking about, does therapy work? It also could be, are you working in therapy, right? Have you decided to do the work?
Mhm.
Because it certainly doesn't work when you don't do the work. And I see this even in the business world. This is where I'm most comfortable and I know the most about. So I keep bringing back examples, but I have had so many people come up to me and say, "Oh my gosh, Jessica, joining a chamber of commerce just doesn't work for me." And I said, "Well, did you do this? Did you do this? Did you do this?" And they said, "Well, no." Well, then you didn't do the work to give that chamber an opportunity to work for you, right? So you have to do things like reach out to the people in the directory and say, "Hey, I'm new, I'm here. I would love to have, a getting to know you call and learn about your business and see how we can collaborate as part of this, basically you're part of a club, right?" And you have to join some of the subcommittees, pick something and attend it and become involved. You have to show up to the monthly next mixers or networking events so that you can begin to build relationships. And so you have to do all these things to make it work. And I think there's no exception, and actually even probably a greater rule of this being true when you get to the point of therapy. It's like, saying that I'm going to clean the room, but I'm not going to check under the bed or open the closet door, right? In order to really clean that room, we have to take the curtains down, we have to wash them, we have to clean windows, we have to get into all the nooks and crannies and reorganize the drawers. And hey, spring cleaning is coming. Apparently, I'm thinking about that. It's time to buy the tools that are needed, the special organizing things. I've been thinking about all my gift bags and tissues that tissue I have that is just not stored the correct way because I need the right storage tool for it, design for it. So just having all of those pieces in place, I think our mental health and spring cleaning can be there very much the same. So what do you think, Gail? A good analogy?
Yes, actually. Very good analogy.
Okay, so now if you're watching, yes, you should come on to Profound Professionals and reach out to us and our team, and we'll get you booked. And I always say it's just not nice. You must, we learned sharing in kindergarten. So if you are an industry expert, I am guessing you also you also know other industry experts. So be their hero and ours, and introduce them to us so that we can feature them on the show as well, because that would be great. Now, I'm going to get to our final thought, piece of information, inspiration in just a second. So hold that ace up your sleeve, Gail. But is there anything about you personally or your business that we didn't get a chance to cover or share in our conversation today?
Well, about me personally and my business, I think one thing I can share is that I've been through therapy as well. I've been there. Um, I know what it's like to be in the client's shoes, and there's no judgment.
Mm-hmm.
There shouldn't be anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all about what's that famous expression that the famous therapist Irvin Yalom said. It's all about just being two human beings on a journey together.
I love that. Yeah,
Yeah.
people matter most. We're here because of people. All right. Well, now I'm going to put you on the spot. How are we going to close out the show? What is that sounded like a great way, but we're going to give them one more piece. We're squeezing Gayle for everything she's got. We're
I'm
getting
all
that final
for tidbits. I love it. I have a bunch. But no, in all seriousness, I would say if there's one thing I can't express enough, it's that please don't let whatever struggles you're going through stop you. Please know
thought.
that there's always hope. And if you don't know how to proceed with something right now, it doesn't mean that there isn't somebody that can help you. And it doesn't mean that at some point you won't be able to have the courage to work through it.
I totally agree. I
Mhm.
tell my children growing up, and even the adult children to this day, always say, as long as there's life, there's hope. So, hang on and get some help from someone, because there isn't a puzzle too large for when we come together for all of us to solve. So, you're not alone. And as long as there's life, there's hope. I love that final message, Gail. Thank you. And this has been Jessica Koch with our guest, Gail. I hope you've enjoyed being on the show as much as I've
Yes.
loved having you.
Thank you
And
so, so much.
you're very welcome. We are Profound Professionals. I'm your host, Jessica Koch. And as always, I will close our show. You know what I'm going to say. Yes, you do, because you've been watching. Remember, please be kind to yourself and be kind to each other. Bye, everybody.